Hey, welcome back. This is Alexander Van Stone, and this is part 2 of Unreal Engine for Musicians. We're working in Unreal 5.3.2 today, and in this part I'm going to show you what my camera hardware setup is and how I get my green screen composite roughed in the initial stages and everything you need to build for a green screen shot in Unreal Engine 5.3. So here you can see my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K camera. And I'm running, it's got a vertical adapter rig on it, and I'm running USB-C out up to this solid state hard drive where I'm recording the clean green screen plate. And then out of the HDMI port, I'm running up to this SDI adapter by Blackmagic. This SDI port is running out of the camera and into a Blackmagic Decklink 4K card in the back of my Unreal Engine PC. That PC is then running out to a director's monitor, which is then repeating the signal and running to this local recording monitor. So when I'm on set, I'm able to look at this monitor here and it will show me the Unreal Engine background and foreground elements along with my green screen element all composited together. So on the back of my Unreal Engine machine, I have this Blackmagic SDI Decklink 4K card where I'm able to run an SDI cable from my camera and that little Blackmagic adapter as a video source in that goes into Unreal and gets the video signal. And then running out of this card is Unreal Engine is setting a composite out. And that is running to my Feelworld director's monitor, which then repeats the signal and sends to my Blackmagic recording monitor that's mounted on the camera. This is my 17-inch director's monitor that is hooked into, it's receiving an SDI signal from the Decklink card in the back of my Unreal Engine PC that is being fed out from Unreal Engine. And then this has an SDI out that is feeding back to the 7-inch recording proxy monitor on board the camera. So the next thing you're going to want to do is go to your Composure tab. If you don't have it here, you should be able to find it if you go up and look through Windows and Virtual Production Composure Compositing is what it's called right up here under this menu. So over here under this tab, you're going to go to Create New Comp, and it's going to say Empty Comp Shot. Go ahead and do that, and we will just call this, don't lose my number, Comp 1. Okay, so here, once we have this, you're going to want to add a media plate, 2 CG elements, and 1 matte layer to the composition. So we're going to click on the parent asset, then we're going to add layer element, we're going to add a media plate, and then we are going to add layer element, we're going to add a CG layer, and we are going to add another CG layer, and then we are going to add a CG matte. Now, we can call one of these a CG foreground, and the other CG background. And then we're going to call this foreground matte. Okay. The next thing we want to do is we're going to go ahead and open our content drawer. Let me see if I have another one of these windows. So window. Okay, I'm opening my content browser here, and then here in the parent folder of content. Good, all these overview levels have double saved for whatever reason, but now I'm going to create a new folder. Oh. Okay, so back here in my content folder, I'm creating a new folder, and I'm going to name this green screen. So let's go ahead and go into this green screen folder, and then we're going to right-click and create a media player. So here under media, we're going to go to Media Player. And here it asks you, do you want additional assets to create and link to the video media player? Yes, yes you do. So say video output media texture asset. Click OK. We're going to name this new media player BM6K GS player for Blackmagic 6K green screen player. So we're going to go ahead and now we are going to open the Blackmagic. We're going to right click, and under media we're going to create a Blackmagic media source. We're going to name this BM6K green screen SRC. So we're going to open this up, and then we are going to, under details, we are going to turn off auto. We're going to make sure the Decklink SDI 4K is selected. 1080 is the feed that we're getting in, progressive, and 2397. So that all looks correct. So now if I hit open, let's see if my camera's on. Okay, so once we have all of these parameters correct and we apply them, you hit open and that refreshes this. And now you see we're seeing our video feed here. I believe this 8-bit I want to change to 10-bit. And then everything else, to my knowledge, is correct. Now, a lot of times when you're working with video sources and stuff in Unreal, so one thing is I can't do webcam or anything. I can only have one video source coming into the computer, be it USB or through SDI. So make sure you have your webcam turned off or whatever while you're doing this. And now that we have the source working, I also have it up on my Feelworld monitor. I'm going to go ahead and close this. Now back here in our green screen folder, what we're going to do is create a Blackmagic media output. So we will call this UE we're going to call this BM out for Blackmagic out. So here we're going to make sure we have the Decklink SDI selected, and then we're going to have 1080. Make sure that's matched up. Before we had 24p on the other one. We're going to go ahead and apply all of that. Is we're going to go and create a new material. So we're going to call this BM6KGS underscore material. All right, so we're going to go ahead and open our materials graph. And one of the things over here we're going to want to do is, I think, we want to switch that to post-process. And then I'm going to add a texture sample. We're going to create 3 of these. So going just like that. An overnode. So I have 3 texture samples. These are going to be for kind of creating our foreground, the green screen mask, and the background element in terms of the composure thing. So there's a couple more things we need to do. We've got our first overnode. We're going to want 2 of these. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste that. We've got 2 here. You can line these up a little closer here. So I always just kind of like to line up all my nodes first and make it just a nice clean build. So the next thing we want to add is a custom rotator. And the reason we're doing this one is because I'm doing vertical video aimed at mobile, which just a lot of the production, you know, if you're out here booking production work, branded content and music-related content and things like that, for being distributed on social media, on mobile devices. It's just the reality of the game right now, so I think it's good to understand what are
solid pipelines for producing professional quality content, close if not matching with broadcast standards, to getting things done. So I'm going to continue on with this. Next thing I want is a texture. Texture coordinate. Now this guy is going to help me just line up where everything's going to go with getting the rotations right. So the next thing I want is a 2-vector, 2-vector constant. This is going to kind of control those rotation variables here on the custom rotator. And then the last thing I want to add is I think a single value. Not a texture coordinate, but yeah, constant. Okay, great. So this is how we're going to wire these things up. This texture coordinate here is going into my UV here. Lower this down just so it's a little bit easier to make sense of. The other thing is you never know at what point you need to pass off to another team member in Unreal Engine. So I really advise you to be tidy with your work and think about like if this was a shared station in a garage or in the back of a truck, and just make it a nice workspace where it's easy for everybody to know where things are, and like put your tools back in the right place. And so that kind of goes into when you're building any sort of blueprint or materials graph in Unreal. Don't leave a giant sloppy mess of spaghetti. Leave something that is easy to comprehend and make sense of for your other team members. Okay, so next we want to take the white out of this 2-variable one here and go to rotation center. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come out of this to here. And this guy, I think I can, convert to parameter, and I'm going to name it video rotation. Okay, so I've got that going here. And then the next thing I want for these rotated values is, because I'm going to create the optics of my virtual camera here in Unreal, so it's as if the sensor and lens mount is vertical as opposed to it being a horizontal 16:9 frame that's been rotated, which is what the actuality of the camera is. But that also just comes down to just like a perception of how you're using it as a tool. So that's part of why we're having to do all this rotation gag here. So the rotated values, it's going to go into the UVs of here and here. Now the other thing I want to do is I need to convert this to a parameter. This is going to be my foreground, so we'll call it FG. We're going to convert this to a parameter, and this is going to be my background, so BG. And then this one is going to be my computer graphic foreground. So we'll call this CGFG. Okay, next, out of the RBG alpha of background, we're going to run into B of this overnode. And then next, we're going to go out of RBG alpha into A of this overnode. And then from there, we're going to go out of the RBG alpha of our foreground element, which is just going to be our green screen camera coming in. And that is going to go to A right here. Now, we want to then come out of the RBG alpha of this top overnode, and we're coming all the way down here into B. Other note I'll make for this is you want to make sure for your whole materials graph here that under material domain, This is probably going to come in as surface or opaque or something else. You want to make sure this is set to post-process. Okay, so our last step in building this materials graph is we're going to come up from RBG Alpha here and right into emissive color. So let's just go ahead and zoom out. This is our whole material graph for the green screen material. So I'm going to go ahead and apply, and then I'm going to save, and I'm going to go ahead and close this. Okay, so now that we have our green screen material all made, next we're going to need to hop in here and get it going with the player. So if I open my Blackmagic player, here I have my BM6K GS SRC. So now we're seeing my green screen with my music stand in the way here. So we know we're getting our video source. Now, the next thing we're going to want to do is, now that we know this is working, we can just go ahead and I'm going to move this to my other monitor for now. But if we go back here into our outliner and into our comp assets, we want to be selected there. And then we're going to go over here to our cinematic elements. We're going to grab a Cinecamera actor. And we are going to drop it into the level. And then we'll go ahead and make sure that's in comp assets. We're going to rename it to GS Cam 01. Okay, so we can go ahead and right click on it here in the outliner, and now we're piloting it. So let's go ahead and jump around until we get to about, I want to have this picnic table in the foreground. I want to see that stuff in the background. So about here is a lot of what I want to see in our shot. The next thing we want to do is we want to go in and match the optics of our actual camera. Our Blackmagic 6K camera, we can see right here on this page, it is 23.1 by 12.99 millimeters. It's the same as a Super 35 CMOS sensor. So over here, we have Super 35. But you can see that is not quite what we're looking for. So we're going to go to Custom, lower film back, and you can see this is pretty close to what our sensor size is, but we want 23 by 12.9. So this is 23.1. I don't know why this isn't letting me edit it. Okay. Make sure that's to custom. Then you can change this to 23.1. And then this to 12.99. Okay, now, since we're doing vertical video, let's go ahead and rotate this camera 90 degrees. Okay, cool. Now our camera is rotated 90 degrees for the vertical video, just like our stuff is. In terms of driving it, I think taking this back to 0 and then changing this to 12.99 and this to 23.1. Now, just the way you would normally in a video game with your ASDW keys and your right and left click on your mouse, now you can drive your camera around. And this is kind of why I was making that rotating actor in my green screen materials graph. Now, for our lens settings, we are on a 25mm lens. So we're going to set our minimum and our maximum focal length to 25. So now we are optically matched up with what our lens is. A couple other things I like to do just at the outset when I'm setting up a Cinecamera actor in Unreal is I'll come down here to the post-process and under lens, first go to exposure, metering mode, set this to manual, and it just lets you have a feel more like doing like analog control and cinematography and lighting is set one unit at a time. So on average, if you go to manual and you change your compensation to 10, that's usually about it. Let's see 9. We're seeing a little more detail there. Let's see 8. 8's pretty nice magic hour. I think we want to go to 8.5 there. I'm liking the looks of this. You can see I'm already getting some assets doubled up and jumping around on me in weird ways. So here we go. This is about what we want to be seeing. And then you'll see when I hit play, all the animations start and the cloth on the tablecloth falls down over this mesh. I'm not sure why it's intersecting like that, but we'll see if I can figure it out. Might need to, yeah. See if I lift it ever so slightly. No, still doing that. Well, it's a foreground element we're not looking at close, so I'm not going to spend too much grief worrying about it. Now, if we jump back over to our camera here and go into pilot mode, I don't know why this is looking all weird now. Oh, it's because I'm in play mode. All right, so back into regular mode, and then I can go ahead and pin my camera here, just so we kind of see what's going on in our frame. Now, over here in our Composure tab, we want to go to our comp, and under transform and compositing passes, we're going to go ahead and add, and then we're going to lower that, and here's a slot for a material. So we're going to go to our content browser. Might have to, I'm going to open another window for this just because it's easier to not have tabs overlapping on each other. So here's our content browser too. So we got our green screen material here. We're going to go ahead and drag that right there. Now, you see that we have these material parameters. We can also change this to a multi-pass chroma keyer, which is what we want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and move my content browser out of the way. And here, we're going to try compositing material element. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and drop that material back in where I just had it. And we are going to make my foreground is going to be CG foreground right here. My background is going to be CG background. My foreground here wants to be media plate 1 media source, and then this one wants to be CG foreground. And then here under material parameters, you see now I have video rotation. I'm probably going to want to turn that to 90. So now, you can see on our media plate here, we've got our material of our chroma keyer. But under our inputs, media source, here we need to add bring my content browser back over, and you see we have our BM6K green screen source. So, interesting. So I think what we want to do here is drop this media texture. Yeah, that's the move. So if I open this media texture, there's nothing in it because I have to have this player open. So if I hit play, you can see I'm now getting this coming through on my media plate. And I I think on just this element, let me see what happens if I just rotate it 90 degrees. Nothing's happening. Okay, so that might not be the place to do that. But now I've got my CG foreground. So that's going to be all this stuff right here. So we go back to our outliner and everything we've got here in the foreground. We are now going to go over from this to layers. We're going to create empty layer. We're going to call this CG foreground. And on this layer, we are going to do add selected actors to selected layers. So what we've done now is everything in that foreground folder is now on this layer. So when I go back to CG foreground here, I should be able to select a layer. Let me, yeah, so if I add, interesting. Well, back up to this. Our target camera actor, we want to add our GS1 camera to the comp. Oh, capture actors. Inclusion type, include. And then we're going to select CG foreground. So now you can see all these things that we have here in the foreground are now there. I don't think my crows are in there yet, so the next thing I want to do is move my crows into this folder, then go back to layers, and again, add selected actors to selected layers. Now, when I go to my Composure elements and I click CG foreground, you can see I'm seeing our birds and our picnic table.